My name is Bridget Strama. I am a trainer and former Radiant Child student as well. I finished Radiant Child teacher training about 12 years ago. Uh, it was a life-changing experience for me, as I know it will be for you. I was lucky enough to be asked to become a trainer about 6 years ago now. I have been training foundations and chair yoga since then, and have added a few more in there as well, and have absolutely loved my time training. I want to let you know what you can expect from this training. So we are going to pull up a PowerPoint where I will discuss different aspects of chair yoga, how versatile it is, how effective it is, everything you ever wanted to know. Throughout this time, there will be opportunities for you to take some notes, to read some articles, to take a look at some practice videos that I've put together for you, and to look at those practice videos from several different points of view. One being you do the practice with me, see how it feels in your body. The second time, you may go through it and take notes, see what things you like, see what things the explanations make sense for, see how this form of yoga can really help the populations that we are striving to bring it to. I have used chair yoga in classroom settings with children of all ages, from elementary through high school. I have used it in corporate settings, including law offices and defense contractors and various other places. Mainly, I have used it in retirement communities and assisted living centers and recreation centers with populations of senior citizens. So enjoy the training. Reach out to me via email if you have any questions about anything that we discuss. And I think you're going to enjoy it. Here we go. We begin with the how and why. How and why do we teach chair yoga? What is the point of all of this? Definition is simple. Any type of yoga that you do can be practiced in a chair. There are lots of ways to do it. Almost all poses that are traditionally practiced in mat-based classes can be modified to do in chairs. Some of them, in fact, I find even more difficult to do in chairs than they are in traditional mat classes because it's harder to cheat in a chair sometimes. For seniors, it's a great way to improve flexibility, mobility, balance, mental health. For those in corporate settings, the same all applies, as well as being a way to reduce stress and anxiety in those situations. And the same goes for student bodies in schools. Reducing stress and anxiety goes a long way. Think for a moment about your initial thoughts when you hear about people teaching chair yoga and people taking chair yoga classes. What populations of people come to mind? What do you think a class looks like? What are the limitations to a class like this? What are the benefits? What else comes to mind just off the top of your head when you're thinking about it, those preconceived notions that you might have? Think for a few minutes, take your time, pause this video, and write down your just straight shoot from the hip thoughts and ideas about chair yoga before we get going. Take as much time as you need to do this. hopefully you have found and written down some good thoughts that by the end of the class will hopefully be either reinforced if they're positive or traded in for positive thoughts, as chair yoga really is a fantastic method of practicing yoga. Some real benefits is that chair yoga is accessible to everyone. If you can breathe, you can practice yoga. And this is truly, truly a practice to help with that. I have people come to chair yoga who come in walkers and sit in a chair. I have people who come in their own wheelchairs and never leave their own rides. I have people who have come in every way, shape, and form to a chair yoga class and benefited from the class. Chair yoga is growing in popularity in classroom settings in school systems because it is a really quick and easy reset without having to rearrange the furniture in the room, to spread out mats or anything like that. It is something that teachers can do in a realm that's known as brain breaks, which happen really quickly throughout the day to help kids reset their bodies and their minds through poses and through breathing and through some meditation and mindfulness. Lots of corporations have caught on to the idea that yoga and mindfulness makes their employees more productive. That's the bottom line. Much of corporate yoga is practiced in chairs as people are dressed professionally. It might happen over a lunch break. I've been in settings where I come in twice a week and it's only half an hour each time. I've come in where it's after work and some people change and have mats and some people don't, and they're dressed professionally in chairs. What we do know through research is that practicing yoga and mindfulness on a regular basis in a work setting does lead to more productive work. So those corporations that are forward thinking and are willing to give their employees that time really see the benefits of that at the other side. Seniors and those people who are differently abled are also really, really fast growing population in the area of chair yoga. These guys just want to move, want to be active, can't always do the things that they want to do and that people would do on a mat, or people would get up and go for a walk, or whatever it is that people do for exercise, but they still want that movement in their day. And they appreciate the breathing techniques and the mindfulness and the meditation as well. So I want you to take a break again, pause, make a list of what benefits you think there are to practicing chair yoga in a variety of settings. Who do you envision in your head doing this type of practice with? Who do you envision leading through chair yoga classes? And why are those the people that come to your mind? Just take a few, jot it down. We'll be back. Take a moment and talk about the number of senior citizens in our country at this time, talking about the US population. According to the last census taken in 2020, people over the age of 65 make up almost 17% of the total population of our country. It's a large number. In the next 30 years, this percentage is expected to grow to 22%. Almost 1/4 of all people in the country will be over the age of 65. That's a pretty big statistic. Take a few minutes, pause again, read this fact sheet about aging in the United States. Take a few minutes to really take it in. Got some great information on there, and then we will keep going. My takeaways from that fact sheet are this. More older people are educated in 2020 than have ever had the same level of education in history. This means they are able to understand the need for yoga in their lives. They understand the benefits of moving their bodies. They understand the benefits of learning to breathe well and correctly. They understand the need to calm their minds through meditation and mindfulness and be present in the moment. More than ever before, older people are also obese. They need to move. More older people are divorced and living alone than at any other time in the history of our country. They need positive interactions. And we all know if you've been to a yoga class, it doesn't get much more positive. More older people are also living with worries and stress about money than generations before them did. So having this stress and anxiety is yet another reason they need to be able to fall into an accessible yoga practice to feel better about all of these things. According to the Centers for Disease Control, health benefits for movement for people over the age of 65 are multitude. They include improved sleep, which many people over the age of 65 will complain is an issue that they have. They experience less anxiety. They experience reduced blood pressure. These are huge, huge benefits, and there are many more. Longer term health benefits of movement practices for senior citizens, brain health. This means being able to keep the memory and focus and concentration at a level that it is instead of losing any of those skills as they age. Heart health is a huge long-term health benefit. There's actually a lowered risk of 8 different types of cancer in senior citizens who engage in movement practices. They're able to maintain a healthy weight, obviously better if they're engaged in movement. They're able to live independently for longer. There's an increase in bone health, and when there's an increase in bone health, there's a decrease in bones breaking. When bones break in senior citizens is when they lose the ability to live independently. So increasing that bone health and that bone density is really key. Increasing balance and coordination also equals a decrease in a risk of falls. When seniors fall, whether they break a bone or they don't break a bone, it shortens the amount of time they're able to live independently. And of course, mental health benefits of movement, we all know what those are. Moving your body releases endorphins to make you feel better. Engaging in mindfulness and meditation practices help calm your mind, your anxiety, your worries, and help to have a better positive mental health outcome. Again, some guidelines that our U.S. Health Department has released for physical activity for senior citizens. Read these over for a bit. Take notes on anything that you think is important in your teaching of yoga to seniors. Breathing exercises are very important for senior citizens, as they are for all of us. The mantra is, if you can breathe, you can practice yoga. Many seniors need to relearn how to take deep breaths. In our society, over time, the older you get, the less able you are to take really big, deep breaths. Our society promotes really shallow breathing. This is because people are often in front of screens these days. Whether it's a phone, whether it's a TV, you're hunched. When you're hunched over, it's difficult to take deep breaths. Many of these seniors have also grown up and lived through a society that promotes being very thin. In order to be very thin, you have to always pull your belly in. And when you always pull your belly in, it's difficult to take deep breaths. Over time, adults lose the ability to breathe really well and deeply. So promoting breathing exercises that help seniors to dive back into that diaphragm and belly and really learn how to deep breathly can be super beneficial. Take a few minutes and watch these breathing videos. Take time to practice each one and come back when you feel comfortable with them. When we are planning for seniors, it's important to focus on accommodations and modifications for their specific population. Some things to really keep in mind are as follows. Make sure when you're breathing with them, not to have a long pause after an exhale, sort of a, last breath kind of thing that you want to avoid in a senior population and avoid having them really think about. So you inhale, you can pause at the top of an inhale, exhale out, and then don't cue anything at the bottom of that exhale. Just move into the next inhale again. Even if you take a pause, don't draw attention to it, and don't make the pause very long. Keep in mind that teaching seniors in chairs that have arms can be really important. Seniors often have issues with balance, and when you're doing poses and moving around in the chair, you definitely oftentimes want the arms on the chairs to keep them from falling or sliding or otherwise having an accident that could have been avoided. My seniors enjoy, many of them, enjoy learning and practicing their yoga in an environment that is a little bit more dimly lit. So I will wait until they've all entered the room and turn out some of the brighter overhead lights so we can still see, but it's a little bit of mood lighting for the class. But I always make sure that I turn those lights back on at the end of class before they're getting up and leaving so that they can see clearly when they're moving to and from the chair and around the room. Make sure that you speak very loudly and clearly, as often seniors will have some problems with hearing. Not only am I speaking loudly and clearly and have at times used a microphone as well, I model everything that I'm saying as well. So if we're doing something one more time, I'll hold my finger up for a number one. I'll model everything that we're doing and also explain why we're doing it. I don't think that people stick with any type of movement practice or health related positive thing if they don't understand why they're doing it. So I will always take time to model and explain why we are doing what we are doing, what muscle groups we're working, ask them if they feel it, talk about moving up and down, talking about when we inhale and exhale through a movement and why. So as I'm speaking loudly and clearly, I'm also modeling because again, many people cannot hear everything that I say, so they're constantly watching. I always exaggerate my breathing so they can follow along. I'll tell them that they don't have to do this, but I always, when I'm teaching a class of those who are hard of hearing, inhale through my nose and exhale through my mouth so that they can see that visually, so they know when to inhale and when to exhale. Your Shavasana at the end of the class should not be very long because your seniors will fall asleep. They will be nice and relaxed. They'll settle into the Shavasana and they'll fall asleep. So you can cue through a Shavasana if you want to. Sometimes I do, but often not because I want them to close their eyes and relax. And again, many of them can't hear me unless they're also looking at me. So I'll turn on some music or just tell them to take some breaths and just leave them for 2 to 3 minutes before we begin to wake back up. When working with seniors, I always come in a few minutes early. If my class is an hour early, we probably practice for 45 minutes, and the rest of the time, we're talking. They like to hear about what I'm doing. They like to hear about my kids and my family. They like to tell me what they've been up to. Often they don't get a lot of small talk or chit chat or people interested in what they've been doing. So making time for this helps to make it a more personal experience, helps to ensure that they will want to come back, and helps them understand and feel like they know you better so that they feel comfortable and confident in you being responsible for them during this class. Online versus in-person classes. Online classes can be hard with seniors. Technology can be rough for them. Again, hearing you can be hard for them on a video. In person is always, always preferred. But if you are doing an online class, make sure that when you are speaking, your face is close to the camera so that they can see. And when you are explaining what you're explaining it up close, and then you're stepping back so that they can see your body. They need to see all the things that are happening, but they need to be able to hear you as well. Make sure that the walkways in and out of the class, in and out of the room, to and from the chairs are accessible and clear. Often I have people who will come in and park their walkers in the middle of a walkway or their canes in the middle of a walkway. And I always move them over so they're not in the way and bring them back to that person at the end of class myself. It's important, of course, to make sure everyone can see you. I teach a couple of classes a week where I literally sit on a countertop because the room is large and I need to make sure everyone can see me. Make sure that you lessen distractions. You don't want to be in an area where a lot of people are coming and going who are not part of the class. You want to ask them to make sure that they silence their phones. I've had people with really loud ringtones who then answer their phone and yell back and forth with whoever's on the other end of the phone, and it can be really distracting in the class setting. And always, always, always give options and modifications for every pose that you do. There's always a way to modify. There's one rule in every chair yoga class that I do, and the rule is this. If you're doing something and it hurts, don't do that thing. That's the only rule. I make them repeat it to me all the time. If the thing hurts, don't do the thing. Let me know and I can modify it. There are sometimes poses that are uncomfortable, and we know they're uncomfortable. They're meant to be. But we make sure they don't hurt. A few things to take note with the senior population. Inversions are not recommended for many, many, many health issues that they may have, including the ones listed. An inversion in a chair yoga class would be any time that their head is below their heart. So we will do often forward folds, and I will have people with these types of conditions bring their elbows to their knees, drop their head, and not go any farther than that. Deep back bends, like a cobra or a camel, which I've never done either one of those in a chair yoga class, are not good for those people who have compression in their spine or any type of osteoporosis. And a lot of times you have to give modifications and take care in certain poses that involve the knees and the hips, or even the fingers, where there may be any type of joint pain or any type of hip or knee replacement. Always, always, always modify. Time now to watch the practice video and note what is important to you to remember. What will you take away and use? What do you possibly have questions about? That's the first way I want you to watch the practice video. Think about what I'm saying and doing. I'm teaching this video to you as if I'm teaching a group of participants. So take notes on what you feel is important during that practice. And then come back and take time to do the practice with me. Before you begin, notice how you're feeling. Notice how you're feeling during the practice. And as the practice ends and is over, how are you feeling then? Take notes all the way throughout as a reminder. Corporate wellness is a super, super growing trend in yoga right now. It's beneficial to reduce stress and anxiety in the workplace, very important in certain corporations, and it also increases staff retention and staff productivity, which is why human resources departments are reaching out for yoga teachers to practice. Take a few minutes and read this article from Corporate Wellness Magazine about practicing yoga in corporate settings. For all chair classes, you want to have some props available. We will have blocks. We will have straps, and I say straps or ties because with senior citizens, as they get older, they can have some joint pain in their hands as well as some thinning of the skin tissue. And ties, just plain old neckties, are less harsh on their hands than traditional yoga straps. So I have ties that I take to all of my senior citizen chair yoga classes. They can be tied together if they need to be longer or separated if you need just one. Really helpful to use for stretching in those shoulders and arms and legs. The blocks we use to raise legs up a little bit in order to increase stretches sometimes. But also we use the blocks to just bring the floor up to the participants. Sometimes their feet don't touch the floor. And the same as when you're working with children, when your feet don't touch the floor, it can be difficult to concentrate and feel grounded. So putting a couple blocks under those feet of people can help with the grounding and really help them be aware. I use tennis balls for fascia release in every yoga class I teach, but it really is nice in the senior citizen population as it is kind of an immediate gratification. They can right away feel how it works. Working in a corporate setting or a classroom, a desk or a table can be really, really helpful in certain poses. A wall can as well if people want to do some standing for some poses. And of course, you need a chair for a chair yoga class. So take a few minutes now, watch the video for a few ideas on how to use these props in a chair yoga class. Again, take the first viewing of the video to just get the ideas, jot down what you think is important or relevant to your practice, maybe think of a few new ideas and ways to use these, and then come back and practice the video with me, getting a feel for how these props feel and work in an actual class setting. Oftentimes, in corporate classes, people are pressed for time. I often go in and have only a half hour or 45 minutes with people. They need really quick, effective breathing and meditation exercises that kind of immediately make them feel better so that they can go back to work feeling refreshed, feeling better, feeling ready for whatever their workday throws at them. Take a few minutes to watch this video on meditations and breathing exercises. Practice them several times on your own as well throughout the week, coming back when you feel ready. There are lots of ways to throw some fun into chair yoga classes. We do hand jives a lot, getting those hands moving. This is good for seniors, but also really good for those in corporate or classroom settings who may spend a lot of time typing or writing. It's a really nice way to stretch out those hands and fingers and get some relief from the repetitive motion that happens all day. For seniors, it's really nice because they often suffer from some joint pain related to arthritis or related to carpal tunnel syndrome, and it can help relieve those symptoms as well. We will often add in moving meditations to practices. Again, if you do a regular meditation with a senior population, they sometimes fall asleep. But adding movement to the meditation makes them feel more connected to the movement, to the mantra or the song or whatever you're using, and to one another as well. We add in a funny song. A lot of times, Yogini Went to Sea, which is one of the Radiant Child Foundation's class songs, is the absolute best song, no matter what your age. Yogini Went to Sea is designed to cross the midline in a fun way. And as we know, when you cross the midline of the body, you have an increase in memory, focus, and concentration. All three of those things can help corporate, classroom, and senior citizen populations. Plus, it's just a silly, fun way to get it going. There is a video of me doing Yogini Went to Sea with a group of seniors that you can watch, as well as a couple of hand movements and hand jives and moving meditations. Take some time and check those out too. Go back to the page where you wrote your initial thoughts and ideas about chair yoga. Take about 30 minutes to review this material and then answer these questions. How has your outlook on chair yoga changed? What are 3 takeaways that you have from this class? Things that you hadn't thought of that way before, things that you didn't know before, things that you feel you could use in different yoga settings. Chair yoga for seniors, chair yoga in corporate settings, chair yoga in classrooms are becoming really big needs, and they are really growing markets. So where do you find jobs in these areas? What do you do if you want to work in a chair yoga class in one of these settings? It's important to take time to reach out to your local recreation centers. In my area, all of our rec centers that cater to children and adults in the evening cater to senior citizens during the day. So reaching out to those senior centers and those rec programs that cater to seniors is a great way to get a class going. I teach classes in assisted living and retirement communities simply by emailing all of their entertainment directors. Corporate settings are sometimes a little harder to get into. Those are a bit more who you know. Although I have had a lot of luck in reaching out through my husband's companies, reaching out through friends who work in different corporate settings, and contacting their human resources departments with an email prepared with the benefits of yoga in corporate settings and offer to set up a phone call and take it from there. If you want to work in a classroom setting, I have found the best place to start is by going through parent-teacher associations or parents who have some sway in a particular school. Reaching out to administration is sometimes helpful, but they tend to be really busy, and you may not be the top of their list. Basically, getting out and volunteering. I have volunteered to go into different retirement communities and teach practice classes. I have volunteered to go into corporate settings or bar association meetings and teach a quick meditation mindfulness session or some movement practices, and things tend to really grow from there. These types of jobs are really fulfilling. I think it's so important to try and take yoga to those populations who do not traditionally practice. Yoga is for everyone. And being an ambassador of yoga in all of these settings where it has not been before really feels good. It's a good mission to think about taking people and introducing them to something that is brand new and watching as they benefit from it. It's a pretty amazing thing to be a part of. Thank you so much for your time. And please reach out to me if you have any questions. I look forward to seeing you in